I'm very high on the Mariners farm system, or at least the top 10 to 15 prospects in the Mariners system. And now they've got the number 3 overall pick in the draft and the extra bonus pool space advantages that come along with that, thanks to their masterful work during the draft lottery.
Yeah,
They're
great
going to be,
execution by them.
yeah, they're excellent work. They're going to be one of our highest ranked farm systems going into 2025, and really the only two players probably who at least might graduate next year are Logan Evans and Tyler Locklear, which you can look at two ways. One is that maybe you'd like to see more players in the minor leagues ready to help the
Yeah.
varsity team in 2025, but they're also in a pretty strong position from low A to double A too.
Yeah, so this I can't imagine unless a lot of these players just take significant steps backwards that the farm system is like headed towards a downward trend. But to your point, like you could maybe say that a lot of the talent in this system is concentrated at the lower levels. Maybe there's more risk associated with these prospects because you have to project a little bit more. Not everyone is super proven at the higher levels, and your best prospects are not. But I just think it's a real strong collection of talent with both depth and top end quality.
Yeah, and their number one prospect is Colt Emerson. I really liked Colt Emerson when he was
Mhm.
16 as an underclassman in high school, to the point where I wondered if I was maybe a little too high on him sometimes. But what I really liked with him was I thought he was a very advanced left-handed hitter for his age. It was a
Mhm.
compact swing, a very hitterish look. Um, he was young for the class. Wasn't sure if he would stick at shortstop. I thought at the time maybe second base, but he's young, he's athletic, a lot of traits to like in an
Mhm.
offensive oriented middle infielder. Now he's one of the best pure hitters in the lower levels of the
Yeah.
minors. The foot injury cost him a good chunk of time this year, but when he's healthy, you can see excellent barrel accuracy. It's a sweet lefty stroke. He controls the strike zone. All the foundational traits that you want to see in a young hitter with the potential to register high OBPs. Colt Emerson has
Mhm.
all those. I think the two questions right now with him are the power, and then where does he ultimately play?
Yeah.
I always thought it was a hit over power profile for Emerson. And then I think initially after the 2023 draft, after he signed, we thought, like maybe there's some more power in there than.
Yeah, his exit velocities in his pro debut were pretty loud, like shockingly so at the time.
Yeah, and that didn't really show up in 2024. He hit 4 home runs all season, and so he's now got 6 home runs in 94 career games. I
Mhm.
do think there's more power in there, but I just have more uncertainty
Mhm.
on where that tool ends up than I do with his hitting ability.
I agree. I think that you can maybe like compared to another like hitterish middle infielder at the lower levels that you feel a lot of confidence in the hit tool, a guy like Kevin McGonigle. I think there is a little bit more physical projection on Emerson's body that maybe you could dream of him just adding a little bit more strength in the future. He had 102.5, 90th percentile exit velocity, 107.6 max. So these aren't like numbers that jump off the page. They're also not numbers that I'm particularly concerned about, even if he is a hit over power guy moving forward, which I would expect to be the case. I've got a lot of confidence in just the overall profile, his instincts, his approach, his ability to put the barrel on a lot of different pitch types. Again, he's only played 29 games at the high A level, and it's not like he put up great numbers in that stint, but I just think he does everything on the field well. I think maybe you could say that like the secondary tools aren't super loud with Emerson right now. Again, he was 18 years old throughout the 2024 season, so he's still going to be
Mm-hmm.
growing. It would be entirely unsurprising if he just got stronger, got quicker moving forward. He's been a pretty savvy base runner. I just think he does a lot of things really well, and when you have a lot of confidence in the hit tool for a player that I would expect is going to play middle infield or third base at a pretty solid level, it's a profile and a package that I like quite a bit.
Yeah, I think he's an underrated athlete. He's just not particularly fast or quick,
Mm-hmm.
and that limits his range at shortstop. Austin wrote about how he might end up at third base. I could see him fitting at second base.
Mm-hmm.
I would keep him at shortstop as long as possible in the minor leagues and see what happens. But yeah, there's a chance you could see him somewhere other than shortstop in the infield and in the big leagues too.
Yeah, and he
Mm.
played third base this year. I guess he played some second base in 2023, but a vast majority of his innings in the field have come at shortstop. So, all right, how about
Yeah,
Colt Young? I mean,
I was gonna
keep
say
going, keep going.
you mentioned Kevin McGonigle. They were in the same draft class, both 2023 high school shortstops. I
Hmm.
believe they were both on the same uh, Team USA, the U18 or the 18U national team that played in the World Cup too. So just been guys who have been somewhat similar profiles for a long time. Who I don't know who you would take for me. Like I
I
mean, right now,
remember, I think I liked. You were super big on Kevin McGonigle. I was just pulling up our 2023 rankings to see where we actually had them both listed. I think I might have liked Emerson a little bit more just because what stood out to me with Emerson was his approach constantly was really impressive. So we had McGonigle 25, Emerson 27 on our final draft board there. So pretty close. Yohani
yeah,
Morales, the player in between them, very different profile with Yohandi.
yeah,
I
we have.
might
Yeah, go ahead.
I might take Emerson, but like I would expect these guys to be in a really similar spot on my personal top 100, and I view them as like similar tiers of player at this point. Do you have a preference?
We have Emerson ranked ahead of McGonigal right now, and it seems like it's been that way since they signed out of high school in 2023. I would take McGonigal, and McGonigal's a better pure hitter for as much as I just brought up how good of a
Mm-hmm.
hitter Emerson is. Power is not his calling card, but at least right now, McGonigal is showing a tick better power.
Mm-hmm.
Neither one is a great runner. They were in the same 2023 high school class. Emerson is like a full year younger than McGonigal.
Mm-hmm.
Not that that means everything, but it is something.
I think that for me the difference is like I would grant you that McGonigal is a better pure hitter overall, but I think you could probably just dream on a little more coming with Emerson from a physicality
Yeah,
standpoint, from a body standpoint. Like defensively, I probably have been higher on Emerson. I don't think either of these guys are going to be like elite defenders, but if I had to say, oh, one guy's going to play short and one's not, I would pretty easily lean towards the Colt Emerson shortstop camp compared to McGonigal.
I agree with you on the physicality part. I think there's Emerson's a little taller. There's a little bit more physical upside. He is a better athlete than McGonigal. But as far as who's a better defender, I don't know. I might even give McGonigal an edge there.
Mm-hmm.
There's a chance they both go to second base or maybe third with Emerson. So you could point to some physical or athletic edges with Emerson and his age too. But as much as I like Emerson's bat, I just have even more conviction in McGonigal's hitting ability. So I'll probably shock the world here and say Kevin McGonigal.
They remain on the Kevin McGonigal train. Okay, well, let's get into another player second on this list, and Cole Young, who's not all that different from like an overall profile standpoint to both McGonigal and Emerson. Another hit first middle infielder from the 2022 class, not the 2023 class. His performance has been solid. He's played more in the upper levels of the minors. In 24 as a 20-year-old, he played 124 games in Double A in the Texas League, hit 271, 369, 390, just 9 home runs there. Decent amount of walks, doesn't strike out a ton. How much of a gap would you say is between Emerson and maybe McGonigal with Cole Young?
Um, I think there's a decent gap between them, but I like Cole Young a lot. I mean, the Mariners certainly like their hitter-ish shortstops who bat left-handed. Um, that's those two guys. I liked Cole Young a lot too. Coming out of high school, he does a lot of textbook things that you want to see from a young hitter in the batter's box. It's an efficient swing. He tracks pitches well. He controls the strike zone. He has a knack for just being on time and on playing. So I like Cole Young. The one thing, or one thing I would like to see more from him offensively, though, is power. Like you said, hasn't shown a lot of it. That typically is a tool that can develop later on for a hitter, but he's 21 years old now, and maybe there is another gear in there, but he so far hasn't really shown the ability to come into much power. Arkansas is a pitcher's park, but he wasn't really hitting for much power on the road either. And the exit velocity data isn't great. So it's
Hmm.
probably 30 game power right now. If you're looking for a reason why he might be able to come into more power, it'd probably be from, at least in part, from an approach adjustment that he could make. I think he has a great approach now
Hmm.
that suits him well. Like he's just very content to let the ball travel deep into the hitting zone, use the whole field. So his contact point is typically deeper back, and he'll hit a lot of line drives to the opposite field and the middle of the field.
Hmm.
Um, but he just doesn't pull the ball in the air much right now. He did hit a
No.
few home runs this year that went oppo or middle of the park, but mostly wall scraper type jobs. Um, but there could be something more in there when he learns which pitches to really hunt and try to pull for damage.
Yeah, I mean his top index of velocities that we saw this year were a tick ahead of Colt Emerson. He's a little bit older, I think a little bit more physical now, but
Mm-hmm.
I don't think that he needs to really be a player who adjusts his approach too much to try and do damage. Maybe that again, like a lot of these players who are young and just entering their early 20s, I think a lot of that over the fence power comes in time, and I just like the idea of having a the foundation of a really strong hitter who can use the entire field, who can hit a lot of pitch types, who makes a lot of contact, who understands the zone. And again, we're talking about a guy who feel pretty good is going to play middle infield. Maybe this is the worst defensive profile of the three players we've talked about in this kind of hitterish middle infield mold, but you got both of them. You got Young and you've got Colt Emerson. So they both can't play shortstop for their careers if they're going to be in Seattle. So I don't think that's too much of an issue.
What about Jonny Farmelo? Obviously, very high up the list, despite not playing a lot this year due to injury. I mean, I know in the draft, everyone was excited about Jonny Farmelo, the athlete.
Mm-hmm.
Watching him when he was in high school, what drew me to him was Jonny Farmelo, the hitter.
Yeah, I'm
I
the
like
same with
the
you.
yeah, I like the hand-eye coordination, the barrel accuracy, the feel for hitting from the left side of the plate. Um, and then the physical projection too from a guy who's 6'2". He's filling out more now, but I think there's still some room for growth. And then you layer on all the athleticism that he brings to the table, plus runner. He's explosive,
Mm-hmm.
quick burst, bouncy type of athlete. I think there's even more to be excited about.
Yeah, definitely louder tools here with Farmelo than either of the louder physical tools, I should say,
Yep.
than either of the first two players we talked about. It's weird how we've kind of yo-yoed with how we're hearing about Farmelo. Like I didn't write the Mariner system, but Austin's writing about how he's profiling as a hit over power hitter. That's how I viewed him at the time of the draft, like before he was selected. And then I feel like in his pro debut after signing the Mariners, we heard how they were really excited about his raw power. And it was like maybe power over hit now. And now it's kind of gone back in the other direction. But it's a double plus runner. He's a really good athlete. He gets out of the box well. He can cover a lot of ground in the field. I think he's got a chance to be an above average defender in center field. There is clearly some raw power in the tank. But just like to see him a little bit more often. I mean, this year he played in 46 games in low A, hit 264, 398, 421, a lot of steals. So I think he's going to be a player who just impacts the game in a lot of different ways. And again, it's an up the middle player who I feel pretty good about the pure hitting ability with maybe not the same confidence as the first two players we're talking about, but again, you've got more speed here, you've got more um, maybe more power upside. I don't know if you think that that's true compared to the first two hitters, but certainly a more dynamic sort of athlete.
Yeah, I think there's more power upside compared to Cole Young or Colt Emerson, and yeah, he's high on my list of position players who I just want to see healthy and on the
Mm-hmm.
field all season next year. Right? I mean, him, Chase DeLauder with the Guardians, Emmanuel Rodriguez, and
Yep.
Walker Jenkins with the Twins,
Yep.
Marcelo Meyer with the Red Sox. Just to have a have a healthy New Year, guys.
We're always wishing health on the prospects. Being injured and off the field is just the worst. Okay, we got a few more shortstops here, a few more infielders, I should say. Michael Arroyo, Felton Celestine, Harry Ford. I know you're a big Lazaro Montes guy, and I could talk up Ryan Sloan probably for 30 minutes, but are there any other players you want to touch on here with the Mariners or any players maybe even beyond the top 10 that you're excited about?
Yeah, I think Lazaro Montes is starting to get maybe underrated even. I mean, this is a player who just played in his age 19 season, between low A and high A, he hit 288, 397, 484 with 21 homers, 28 walks in 116 games. This is a guy who's big, physical, 6'3".
Or
Well,
78 walks, not 28, but
sorry, did I say 28?
yeah, 20.
Yeah,
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 he walked a
yeah,
little more than that.
yeah. I'm talking about for his 28 walk. No, he walked a bunch. Yeah, big 6'3", physical left-handed hitter with gigantic raw power. 70 raw at least. EVs up to 115 miles an hour. The ball just explodes off his
Mhm.
barrel. There is swing and miss. That's a concern, but his strikeout rate on the year was 24%. It's not too bad
Mhm.
for a young power hitter like him. The Mariners promoted him during the season to high A. That was at the end of June. He had a tough month getting acclimated to that level, but you look at his numbers from August 1st through the end of the year, he hit 333, 459, 604 over 122 plate appearances, 7 home
Mhm.
runs, 24 walks, 33 strikeouts. It is a 27% K rate in that span. Again, he's 19 years old in high A. There
Yeah.
is some aggression there, both with the swing and his approach that I would like to see him rein in, and some of it might be mechanical, some of it just his mental approach. And he's gonna have to mash, obviously, because defensively we're talking about just not a good defensive outfielder or a first baseman or a DH. But um, I could also see a world where he ends up being a player along the lines of Chris Davis, right? When he was with the Orioles, he had a career where his window where he provided value was obviously very condensed before he fell off in his 30s. But like that type of big physical dude who can mash 30, maybe 40 plus home runs from the left side with some defensive limitations. So I think you can make a case for him being as high as number 3 or 4 in this system. I don't even think it would be outlandish to consider him higher if you had concerns about like Cole Young's power, for example, either.
Yeah. So basically saying the gap between 2 and 3 and Montes in this org is razor thin, if it exists at all for you in your head. It's probably a profile that isn't like the sexiest overall, just because of the defensive questions and the profile questions. But yeah, the power does stand out. I like the fact that even though there is some miss that's concerning, it seems like he has been perfectly willing and able to take walks at a solid rate. Seems to understand the zone. At least if he's not going to be some elite pure hitter like some of the other guys in this org have a chance to be, he's never walked fewer than or lower than a 13.5% rate in any of his individual minor league stints at any level.
Yep.
That's really encouraging.
Yeah, and you liked some of the arms in the system. I mean, they have some of the
Yeah.
best pitching in baseball, obviously in their major league club.
Yeah, their major league club has a tremendous rotation. They seem to do a great job developing pitchers. I mean, their first round pick did not even crack the top 10 here. So I think Durangelo Sanchez is probably going to be pretty close to the top 10 when the full 30 comes out. But Ryan Sloan does make it here on this list at 9 overall. The reports that we were getting on him pre-draft were just phenomenal. And there was a case that you could easily make a case that he was the best high school pitcher in the class, joining likes of Cam Caminiti, William Schmidt, who is going to LSU, but he's a big physical right-hander, 6'5", 220 pounds. I think he has 3 pitches that you could say R plus or project to B plus pitches pretty easily. It's consistent mid 90s velocity. He's been up to the upper 90s. It'd be really easy to see him getting into triple digits in the near future. And then both his slider and curve have been really impressive pitches, really advanced for his age in high school. The power he was able to generate on his breaking ball as a high school pitcher was a separator for me. His feel to land, throw, and consistently throw a changeup um, was impressive. A lot of these high school players, especially if you can throw upper 90s and you've got a really good breaking ball, you just don't really need to throw a changeup much. You haven't worked on it. And if anything, the changeup is just helping hitters out, helping them get a chance to do something against you. And then you tie all of that together with pretty good control and a delivery that he repeats pretty well. I just don't know. Outside of him being a high school right-handed pitcher, I don't know what the real red flag is in the profile. It's purely a demographic concern, and if that's just a profile that you don't love, or you're scared about, or you wanted to go prove it in pro ball, I get that. But he also ranks 9 in this system, and he's got mid or better rotation upside. I really like Ryan Sloan.
Yeah, I think you look at top 12 to 15 prospects in this system, and it runs that section of the list runs really deep. After that, I was surprised reading through the 16 to 30 guys. Oh, it becomes a little bit more of a normal system at that
Yeah.
point. But
And I
you
would
just look
say
at
it's
how
like when we talk about systems that have really impressive depth, I mean, how many systems can you remember covering where the 20 to 30 players are super exciting? It's hard to have 30 players of elite depth for any system. Like really good depth is through 15 through like a top 20 for most.
typically, yeah. I mean, if you're in a rebuilding phase, you should have some more depth because you're trading
Should.
for a lot of prospects. There's certainly a lot of rebuilding teams that don't have that
Hmm.
depth. But yeah, I mean, you have to be hitting on players from the draft and international for that to happen. So, but yeah, I think this is one of the top, like you said, top 5 farm systems in the game right now.